Excuse me. This is a public street. I'm allowed to walk.
We talk.
I'm allowed to walk.
You can interview. I don't care. You can talk.
This is a public street. I'm allowed to film.
Sure,
We can talk, but please don't obstruct me. Hey, please don't touch me. Do not touch me. I'm not touching anybody. I was approached. Excuse me, ma'am. Why are you recording me? Why do you keep staring me and
taking video of
recording?
everybody.
Look at what we have here.
Hey, let's talk.
Take Canada Back rallies coming up Saturday, September 13th. I want tens of thousands of patriotic Canadians out on Parliament Hill yelling to Creepy Carney and the Liberals, we are done with their traitorous behavior towards this country. The way I see it, these are our 6 main issues. 8 million invaders into this country in under a decade, yet we allow another 800,000 in Q1 2025. And nobody in our media, CBC, CTV, nobody says a goddamn thing about it because they're on the payroll of this government. The cloud prevent strategy has been used since the 1960s by far left-wing groups in order to disrupt societies. You think that allowing 8 million invaders into the country in a decade, you think that going directly at our freedom of speech, you think that directly going after our charter rights and freedoms is a mistake? No, it's the exact opposite of that. They want a population at war with itself. They push these divisive woke issues because if there were a united Canada, it would not be easy to pull the wool over our eyes. But as currently constituted, it's incredibly easy. The Western provinces, the values of these provinces versus what you see in Quebec, in Ontario, are so different that it's nearly impossible to unite the country. And it's due to leaders like Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney, who push this woke, crazy BS. I won't get too...
Take Canada back. That is the exact slogan that has been adopted by patriotic protesters who will be taking it to the streets on 13th of September. Actually, this coming Saturday. You know, these are protesters who are tired of what Canada is turning into or what Canada is becoming. These are patriotic protesters who love their country so much that they have chosen to hold these kind of protests. These are protesters who are tired of Canada or the Canadian government treating Canadians as second-class citizens and prioritizing immigrants. These are patriotic Canadians who want Canada to be put back into the hands of Canadians. They are tired of all this that's going on, the high crime that is being committed by immigrants, Canadians not finding jobs, and immigrants taking away their jobs, or rather immigrants being prioritized. And I know I'm not a white person, and that's why I think that I may be the best person to channel this kind of message, because whenever a white person comes out with such kind of message, then they are termed as a racist. But I think I am the best person to bring or to relay this message to you, because when these protests are being kind of organized right now, some people or some political leaders, or rather the government, has already termed these protests as a racist protests, as hate-driven protests. But in this video, we will be discussing why these protests are important. And these are not the first protests that this is not the first protest that is happening in these first world countries. We've seen that in Australia, we've seen that in France, we've seen that in Netherlands. I mean, first world countries are already tired of immigrants. There is some sort of exhaustion that is currently just going around these first world countries. People are exhausted, not of just the immigrants, but of their governments, of the leftists or of the liberal governments treating or giving immigrants priorities. You know, Americans are lucky that they have Donald Trump, who was kind of brought in ICE or ICE, which kind of manages these immigration processes or deports all these that are in the country or get into the country illegally. But it's unlucky in Canada that's not the case. So that's why such kind of people who are planning these protests are termed as patriotic citizens who do love their countries. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. So if at all you do disagree, then please just let me know in the comment section and just disagree with a little bit of respect. Anyway, as these protests are being planned, some people have also or are also planning to hold a counter protest, a protest that is aimed at telling these people, or the so-called patriotic citizens, that whatever they're doing is a hate-driven protest, and Canada is not driven by hate, and or Canada is not a racist country. So on 13th of September, hopefully we'll have two protests. But which is which, and what do these protests stand for, and again, who's right and what should be done? Well, in this video I came across some two videos of a guy who explains all this, and he does it with passion and in a way that I really appreciated, and I saw it wise to share with you, my viewer. So without wasting any time, I'm going to share with you this video, and I really hope that you'll watch it with a very keen ear, because I'd really want to know what your thoughts are concerning all this that's going on. So without wasting any time, let's get straight into the video. As usual, I am your presenter and your host, Kachina, and if you enjoy the video, then please give it a thumbs up and even consider sharing to somebody whom it may concern. And if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, then I wonder, what are you still waiting for?
Take Canada Back rallies coming up Saturday, September 13th. I want tens of thousands of patriotic Canadians out on Parliament Hill yelling to creepy Carney and the Liberals, we are done with their traitorous behavior towards this country. The way I see it, these are our six main issues. First and foremost is immigration. This goes without saying. 8 million people into this country in the past decade is unsustainable. It's insane. Whether you're looking at our economic numbers, GDP per capita has fallen 6 months in a row, 22% youth unemployment rate among males, 7.1% unemployment rate leading the G7 in Canada. Canadians have been double-crossed by this government. This government does not look out for the best interests of Canadians, and that's largely due to the so-called immigration mobility program, which sees 1.9 million immigrants in this country don't even need to fill out an LMIA. An employer does not even have to justify why they can't hire a Canadian over an immigrant. So zero IMPs for the foreseeable future, as well as zero temporary foreign worker permits. This program, again, is abused like crazy. I feel bad a lot of immigrants get taken advantage of through this program, posting $36 jobs that are actually $16 jobs. The TFW contributes massively to the 22% unemployment rate among young men, which portends absolute disaster for this country. First and foremost, we need to shut these two programs down and massively reduce immigration. Carney's targets are ridiculous. 1.5 million people in the country between temporary and permanent residents. That number needs to be reduced massively. Maybe a couple 100,000 high-skilled workers. Outside of that, we cannot sustain these current rates. Our number one issue is immigration needs to be curtailed unbelievably in this country. Second issue, policing. We are seeing violent crime rates skyrocket in Canada. Whether we're talking about violent crime rates being up 50% in the past decade, crimes against women being up 80%, petty crime being up over 100%. Again and again and again, a rash of home invasions in the Toronto area this past week. A disgusting story of a man out on bail essaying two underage children within the course of a couple of years after he got out on bail after 12 months. Crime after crime after crime. The statistics back it up. Violent crime is out of control in Canada. We need a total revision of our bail policy. Criminals get out much too easily in this country, and also the tone it sets is terrible. It's so obvious when you read throughout history. If criminals are scared they're going to get locked up, the likelihood of them committing crimes goes down substantially. It's an incredibly small percentage of the population, about 1% of the criminals who commit about 80-90% of the crimes. These people need to be locked up and not let out for an extremely long time. There's a very small percentage of the people that are committing all the crimes, and they commit them again and again and again. Our broken bail policies in Canada continue to see people who SA, young children, the worst of the worst among us, continually let out because of these woke ideologues who believe in putting the rights of the criminal in front of the rights of the citizen, who believe in this insane rehabilitation no matter what the situation is. We need bail reform in Canada. We need strict crimes to be punished, 3 strike laws, return of castle law. Law and order needs to return to Canada. Crime rates have been skyrocketing. I know Mark Carney and his ilk aren't hurt by this, but average middle and lower class Canadians are absolutely getting hammered. We see it on a day-to-day basis. Violence in Canada is skyrocketing. We need police reforms massively. Third issue, free speech. Bill C-63 is an attack on Canadians' free speech unlike anything we've ever seen since the founding of this country in 1867. It is disgusting. It suggests creating something called a Digital Safety Commission, which would feature 10 unelected bureaucrats, just what we need more of in Canada, more goddamn unelected bureaucrats, and an ombudsman who would have the ability to throw you in prison, not for anything that you've done, not for anything that you've said, but for another citizen reporting they believe you are likely to say something hateful in the future. I kid you not. You can be put under house arrest, get an ankle bracelet, and have your guns confiscated if another citizen reports they believe you are likely to say something hateful in the future. This is truly unlike any attack on free speech we have seen in the Western world. It is pre-crime. It is Orwell on steroids. Bill C-63, which is now in committee, also suggests expanding the definition of hate speech to include fomentation of so-called detestation and vilification, as well as potential lifetime imprisonment for so-called incitement to genocide. Free speech is the pillar of Western civilization, and unsurprisingly, they attack all the pillars of Western civilization. They attack sovereignty. They attack free speech. The Liberals are going after, right after the Canadians' right to use their tongue, most important right that you have. Say no to Bill C-63. Say no to them attacking our right to voice our opinions. Canadians are a free people who are free to express themselves however they see fit, of course within extreme limits, but we need to be able to express ourselves. Number 4, stop stomping on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Bill C-2, which they're trying to pass as well when they get back in September 15th. Bill C-2 would allow the government to classify every Canadian with a computer as an electronic services provider, and if it is deemed in the national security interest, the government would now have the ability to access all of your digital communications through Bill C-2. If Mark Carney and those creeps in the Liberal Party deem you a large enough risk, as well as getting access, if they deem it in the national security interest, to get any access to any and all mail that you have received. So if Bill C-2 passes, stomping on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, getting access to any of your mass communications as well, any mass communication as well as any mail that you have coming to you without any notification. This bill cannot pass. It stomps on our Charter of Rights and Freedoms worse than Justin Trudeau did during COVID, as hard as that is to believe, as well as Bill C-4, which retroactively absolves the Liberals of any wrongdoing from any of the millions of pieces of data that they have collected dating back to the year 2000. I kid you not. Bill C-4 passes, it absolves the Liberal government of any wrongdoing with our data dating back to the year 2000. Why would you have to go back and scrub 25 years worth of data collection unless some incredibly nefarious stuff had gone on? We already know through FOI requests the government never gets back to us. There's a lot of junk in there that the Liberals have done over the past quarter of a century. Say no to Bill C-2, say no to Bill C-4, say no to the Liberal government stomping all over our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Number 5 is housing. Housing prices in Canada have exploded ever since 2015. Both rental as well as housing prices have been a straight upward trajectory. We know immigration is the biggest variable impacting that, but also foreign ownership has a lot to do with it. We need to focus on affordable housing for Canadians. Boost up housing starts. They're saying bring 1.5 million people in the country in 2025 while only building 220,000 houses. The math isn't mathing there. We need more houses built, less immigration, just common sense. And 6th issue is healthcare. Healthcare, we have an approximately 70,000 Canadians dying needlessly because they can't get the services they need, between 12 to 24-hour waits at emergency services. This is proven to be, again, immigration plays a huge role in this. We have too many people in this country right now. The population has exploded from 32 million to 41.5 million in just over a decade, and we don't have the infrastructure to solve it. The baby boomers are getting older. It is only going to get worse and worse and worse unless we fix the system. More money into the system, less money, like 22 billion to Ukraine, hundreds of millions of dollars to Gaza. We need to fix Canada first. So the sixth issue is fixing the healthcare system. Again, approximately 60,000 Canadians are dying a year. 60 to 70,000 excess death because of our broken system that needs to get fixed. Saturday, September 13th, Take Canada Back rally, Parliament Hill. I want to.
In the recent past, Canada has seen so many protests, and these are protests that have nothing to do with Canada, but they are being held in Canadian soil or on Canadian soil. I'm talking about protests or Palestinian protests, protests whereby people, I don't know, immigrants or Canadians or liberals go around carrying the Palestinian flag all over Canada, and some of them even ban the Canadian flag. The kind of disrespect. Anyway, they think that the flag is just any other piece of clothing or any other piece of cotton just painted red and white. But anyway, I'm talking about those Palestinian protests that were being held in Canada. I'm talking about those protests that were carried out in Canada by Indians protesting for their rights. Protests that were carried out by Indian students. You know, these are protests being driven by immigrants in a country that is not theirs in the first place. And while all these protests were happening, there was totally no counter protest. Totally no counter protest. No one tried to kind of stop them from protesting. No one kind of tried to term them as racist. But surprisingly, for reasons I don't know, when Canadians have now decided that they'll be also going on the streets to protest for their rights, to cry out loud that the government should be putting them first, somehow immigrants or the leftists, or rather liberals, have kind of found a way of organizing a counter protest. When they have their own protests, there is no counter protest. But when patriotic Canadians now plan to have their protest, somehow they plan to come and disrupt things. Somehow they find a way to plan counter protests that kind of deem them as the saviors. They want to deem these patriotic Canadians as hate-driven Canadians somehow. That is exactly what has been happening in the UK, whereby we have heard UK citizens protesting against the Muslim invasion in UK, and at the same time we've also heard counter protests whereby some other citizens do call these patriotic UK citizens, they call them Islamophobic citizens. That is exactly what happened in Australia just a few weeks ago, when the patriotic Australians want to put Australians first. When they go to the streets and protest against all this that's going on against their will, others behind their back organize a counter protest whereby they plan to stop these patriotic Australians. And looking at things, probably in Australia, these two groups met in one of the streets and it did not end well. So it was something that was really devastating to watch. So I'm just hoping that this will not be the case. And why do all these have to happen? Why do liberals have to organize a counter protest? Holding a protest is part of your rights. You can demonstrate. So why not let them demonstrate in peace, and then thereafter you'll be able to demonstrate in peace? Actually, they've been demonstrating in peace. Why is this the case?
We want to walk. Sorry? Who am I allowed? What does having to walk freely down a Canadian street have? Look at that. Did just?
What? Let's see what we have over here.
Excuse me. This is a public street. I'm allowed to walk.
We talk.
I'm allowed to walk.
You can interview. I don't care. You can talk.
This is a public street. I'm allowed to film.
You know, we don't need.
Sure, we can talk, but please don't obstruct me. Hey, please don't touch me. Do not touch me. I'm not touching anybody. I'm not touching anybody. I was approached. Excuse me, ma'am. Why are you recording me? Why do you keep
Recording me,
staring
you're
me and
taking video of
recording?
everybody.
Look at what we have here.
Hey, let's talk. Let's talk.
Excuse me, do not touch me. Do not touch
I'll
me.
knock you the fuck out. I don't care right
You're
now.
gonna
You
knock
wanna
me
talk?
out?
Let's talk.
You're
Let's
gonna
talk.
knock me
Let's
out?
talk. I'll
Okay,
knock you
so
the
look
fuck out. I don't
look
care.
at what this is. The
You
streets.
wanna call
This-
it what it is? What are you scared of?
I'm not scared of anything.
Then ask a question.
These are the characters we're getting in downtown Montreal right now. Face fully covered. Note the face fully covered. Truly cowardly. Won't show his face. It's truly shocking. And now,
When it's their problem, when it's their fucking, when it's their protest, when it's their protest, they get barricades. We can't even come into it. How are they allowed to swing out to
It's okay, we all made our point. He's a piece of shit. That's what he is. Listen, I can get it off for next time, take a shower, you racist moron.
Well, first and foremost, when this kind of protest was held in Australia, I think it was a few weeks ago, I think it was 1st of September 2025, there was something that was terribly off with that protest. And the problem was not with the organizers. The problem was not that the people who originally participated in the protests were driven by hate. The problem was simply these kind of protests that were supposed to be peaceful were kind of hijacked and invaded by people who were driven by hate. I'm talking about the neo-Nazis. I'm talking about racist people. And they kind of came and hijacked the protest. They were kind of on the front rows of the protests, and that was not the original idea, but kind of probably those who were planning the whole protest kind of failed when it came to putting or keeping away or making sure that these people with ill intentions are not engaging with the protests. They kind of let them in. And while some people did claim that all this was probably sponsored by the government, or the government decided to kind of put these people in, or to let these people infiltrate, or to let these people hijack these kind of protests, so that these protests can be seen by the entire world to be protests that are driven by hate, protests that are fired by racism and by them being selfish or selfishness. They decided to let those people get into the protests. The police did nothing about it, and that's why so many Australians found themselves walking away from the protests that they had initially organized with their whole heart and souls. So it may just be a fear for me that probably the protests may happen, but again, people with ill intentions, people who do not share the same intentions of just putting Canada first or taking Canada back, may also join the protests and kind of paint the whole protest as racist, or kind of paint the whole thing bad. That is just my fear. I just hope that the police or those people planning these kind of protests or these specific protests are aware of that. And assuming that they are aware of that, they should do something about it before it's too late. I don't want to be seated here on 2nd of September doing a video probably titled "Why Canadians Walked Away from the Protests," because that is exactly what happened in Australia, and I totally do not want that to happen in Canada. So I think something should be done concerning that.